I'm breathing underwater. I'm weightless through space. I'm soaring like an eagle all over this place. Creatures most will never see are waiting there to look at me, and all I gotta do is breathe underwater. The Seaview is doing whatever it is she does all day when suddenly there's another submarine following her.
That's funny. I didn't think there was a vessel within 100 miles of us.
If you count those torpedoes, there's 3 vessels out there. Our crew is good enough to dodge them easily, but what's going on here? It doesn't take long to figure out that it's a drone and it's locked onto them. They can't get rid of this thing, and it has some kind of jammer that messes with their homing torpedoes. Fortunately, they have some kind of new ultrasonic weapon. May as well try that. Bad guys lose more submarines that way. Cue the first commercial break. When we come back, Chip reports that they came out of that encounter in good shape. In fact, terrific shape compared to the other guy.
Do you see any reason why we can't go through with the automation test?
No structural reason.
Meaning you don't approve of the whole business?
I just don't like the idea of letting the sub-guard with only a handful of civilians aboard.
Well, don't worry, Chip. The Admiral and I will be on hand to keep in line. Now look, set a course for the shipyard. Proceed at standard.
Aye, aye, sir.
The short version? We're trying yet again to turn the Seaview into a smart robot that handles most functions on its own. We've tried it before with predictable results, but you know what they say, 48th time's a charm. Crane sends a message to Admiral Nelson advising him of the attack and suggesting somebody find out who and why.
Our drone was destroyed. Now what?
Oh, that plan was a weak one at best. That's why I ordered the attack on Seaview. If our drone couldn't sink one solitary submarine, how could it possibly hope to penetrate the defenses that will surround that peace ship?
We won't get to find out who they work for, but the peace ship he mentioned is the why. Leaders from 7 nations are meeting aboard a ship in neutral territory in the Pacific to hammer out a peace treaty. His employers don't want that to happen. Orders are to destroy the peace ship, whatever it takes. Naturally, security around it is intense.
We'll penetrate the area with the one ship that's beyond suspicion. Seaview.
Seaview?
The test Captain Crane mentioned in his report, sea trials of Seaview's new automated equipment. The test crew he mentioned will consist only of Nelson, Crane, and 8 scientists. One of those scientists works for us.
Are you ready for a whodunit? The automation storyline is an excuse to get the crew off the sub so the scientists can have an Ellery Queen type locked room mystery.
Skipper? This lady got separated from the rest of her party.
Oh, thanks, Kowalski. Better take off for your liberty.
Aye, sir.
Have a good time.
Thank you.
Captain Crane, I'm Ava Winters.
Oh, yes. Admiral Nelson's spoken about you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
She was trying to find Admiral Nelson, but he's somewhere else with the rest of her group. It's not explained how she managed to lose all of them.
Tell me, Captain, how do you feel about having a group of total strangers running your ship?
Well, I don't know. It should be an interesting experiment.
Say the least. Well, since the Admiral is busy, I think I'll go to my cabin. I've been assigned to B.
That's right. I'll show you the way.
No, that's all right. I guess the Admiral forgot to tell you. I'm one of the architects who helped design the Seaview, so I'll find my own way. Thank you.
So if she wanted to pull some shenanigans, she'd know exactly how to do it.
Where's the embassy? Our agent is aboard Seaview. The plan is in operation. 24 hours, that peace ship will be on the bottom.
And that comes right after we meet Ava. Red herring much?
We'll be underway in 5 minutes for our Golders run, Harry.
Only had time for a quick look around, Gran, but from what I've seen, Seaview is as good as new.
With the new equipment we've added, she'll be better than new. You'll say so yourself when we turn it back to you.
He's talking about all the automation gear he and Chandler have installed, Admiral. Their ambition is not to build ships, but to make sailors obsolete.
In other words, effective defense without lost lives. Sounds like a good idea to me.
We're not trying to make sailors obsolete. Now, this vessel can be handled by one man with the equipment it has now.
You'll have a chance to prove that in this test run. With only 10 technicians aboard and none of the regular crew.
Try saying 10 technicians with a mouthful of marshmallows. The guy in the uniform is Stoller. He's high enough in rank that he calls Admiral Nelson Harry.
Captain.
Oh, yes, Miss Stewart, isn't it?
Tracy Stewart.
Yeah.
Gosh, a lady.
I'm in charge of computer programming and
I know.
I'll also be handling whatever communications we'll be having during these tests. This just came in.
Oh, thank you.
I think Captain Crane is a little smitten. The message is from the peace ship saying keep everybody at least 50 miles away from us.
Oh, Chandler, will you make certain that the automatics guidance system keeps us out of the area of the peace ship?
Well, we'll be over 100 miles from these coordinates at our closest position, Captain. And the system is self-corrected in case we should run into overly strong drift currents, you understand?
Good. Thank you.
100 miles is even better. Let the test begin. Objective 1, take her down to 5,800 feet and hold there. The Seaview executes it flawlessly.
Hey, let's go back up.
Stroller, kill the main switches.
Chandler, switch to backup systems.
I'm trying, they won't respond.
The reactor is shutting down. They're stuck at 5,100 feet.
You all right?
I'm fine. But what happened upstairs?
That's Klaus. He's monitoring the engine room.
We don't know yet. Maybe Rourke can tell us. Stay here. Lee.
Rourke is in the reactor room. At least what's left of him is after he was more or less shredded in one of the turbines. For some reason, Mr. Carter thinks Klaus might have had something to do with it, but Nelson says it was an accident. End of discussion. Scratch that theory. We have a murderer on board.
Why? Why is one of us trying to kill the others?
Well, maybe it isn't one of us. Maybe there's someone else on board.
Lee, you and I will search the vessel. Doctor?
Chandler, let's get Klaus over sick bay.
Glenn, give him a hand. The rest of you stay here and stay together until we get back.
He's got a collection of eggheads, one of whom is a spy, and he expects them to stay together. I can hear one of them say, "What's this gether and how do you stay to one?" Told you. Oh, Admiral, next time you want them to stay together, leg iron chain gang. But as I often say, it gets worse. The heat will kill them in minutes, but Captain Crane has a plan.
Just hope there's enough powder in these to blow open this hatch.
Like that, they decided that steam bath is getting a terrible Yelp review.
What was that explosion?
Somebody tried to kill us. Where's Stroller?
I don't know.
I told you to stay here.
I didn't go anywhere.
We've searched every compartment in this ship but your cabin.
The door was locked. Do you want to come down and open it?
Oh, yes, of course.
Lee, you round up the others and keep them here.
I'm telling you, Captain, leg irons and chains.
What are you doing here, Judd?
You startled me, Harry. I was just looking for you.
But I thought you were going to stay with Ava and Tracy.
I thought I'd try to find an auxiliary radio in the storeroom.
Isn't that kind of the opposite of staying? Is there a third grade teacher in the house? Maybe they can say it in a way he'll understand.
When I passed your lab, I noticed the door was open. I knew you'd keep it locked, so...
I guess it's not a very good lock. Should have gone with a Rabson.
Arthur, you and Dr. Templeton took Carter to sick bay. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. We put the body onto one of the bunks.
And then what?
Well, then I started to get sick. I had to excuse myself.
You didn't look sick to me.
He definitely does now. We've seen David Shiner in Manimal, Blue Thunder, and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea last season. He was a popular character actor until he retired in 1988. At last word, he's 96 and still going.
Now, don't you try and put the blame off on me. Now, you told me to go. You were the one who stayed in that room alone with Carter.
Now forget it. No one's accusing anyone yet.
While the Admiral is trying to quiz everyone, Chandler is babbling.
No, I can't stand this. I mean, I just can't. We're all sitting around here talking, asking questions, and one of us is a cold-blooded murderer. Now, this is pointless. We're doomed. We gotta get off this submarine. No, Admiral. Isn't there some way?
Not from this depth.
We could take the flying sub.
You know as well as I do, we can't launch her without power.
And it's possible to launch the mini-sub, but at this depth it might as well be made of eggshell. A moment later, they look up, and Chandler is gone. I'm with Templeton. Running is for those younger folks.
Can't you stop it? He'll be killed.
There's nothing I can do without power. It's made to release from the sub in emergency, and there's no way I can bring it back in.
Let's go to the control room.
They all know what's going to happen, but they can't look away. We're down to 4 eggheads. Can we please keep them all in one place? Okay, 3 eggheads. Admiral Nelson can identify the poison and even where it came from, but not who spiked the coffee with it. Even more important, he can't figure out why our person is doing this. They're after the Seaview, that's not hard to guess, but what do they want to do with it? He sends Crane and the 2 women to figure out their position while he and Stoller put Templeton with the others.
I'll wait for you outside.
Stoller. Stoller!
He's not answering and he's nowhere to be found. This guy needs to look up the word together. At least he's not acting suspicious.
Get it off me.
At least he's not acting suspicious.
You pulled the hinge pin.
No, Harry, no.
Now, where did you go after you left sick bay?
I went to my cabin to get a pack of cigarettes. I don't have to answer your questions, Nelson. I will not have my integrity questioned by you or anyone else. Do you understand?
I don't think you're allowed to call him Harry anymore. Do the words prime suspect strike any chords?
Sit down, Jack. What's our position?
As far as I can figure out, just about here.
I'm not sure why they need the extra clips since they're the only ones who are armed.
Now I know why the murderer wanted Seaview.
To torpedo the peace ship. That's why Seaview was sabotaged in the first place.
I'm going to make certain that Seaview's torpedoes are not used against the peace ship.
You know, you could just yank a couple of fuses and put them in your pocket, but as we know, Irwin did like his pyrotechnics. Stoller says, what about the nuclear missiles? They have a handy little destruct button that destroys the controls. Captain Crane will see to that now.
Come over here, Tracy. Sit down. Brace yourself. It's going to be a little explosion.
Nelson did that wrong anyway. Everybody knows the American way is to give them each a gun, turn them all loose, and see who's left standing.
Well, Joe? Got any other motives?
I suggest you ask Ava that question.
While they're batting around all the possible reasons why she might have done that, Captain Crane is making his way back. That was a World War II era grenade. Your average 1960s grenade didn't look like that anymore. They were round balls. This was the kind they showed me when I was in the Army. I never actually touched one, but I got to look at one. Anyway, Irwin used the pineapple style for the same reason that I bought this for a prop instead of a 60s style one. Almost nobody knows that, but anybody who's ever watched a cartoon recognizes this. While Tracy tends to the captain's wounds, Ava heads to her cabin. Stoller is hanging around and watching it all.
Who is it?
Nelson.
He let her keep the gun.
I just wanted to see if you were all right.
I thought I'd try and get a little rest.
When you wake up, stay here and call me in the control room. I don't want anything to happen to you.
I think he just told us who's next.
Have you figured out which one of us set the booby trap yet?
No.
Perhaps I can be of some help. Here, take a look at this. Looks like the detonator was built from a computer part, doesn't it?
It's a relay cell.
You'd know more about that than I would. But there's someone aboard who knows computers almost as well as you do. Tracy Stewart.
What detonator would that be? It was a hand grenade rigged to pull the pin. That sounds like something from military training. Later, Stoller and Crane are zonked out at the table in the control room while Nelson and Tracy are checking systems. Nelson can give us the good news and the bad news in one sentence.
Every second on the boat is operational and nothing works.
It doesn't get much more succinct than that. Ava is buzzing.
Hello? Hello? It's Ava. Ava! Ava!
We won't find out how she died. Seems important to me, but I'm not an admiral.
Admiral, I was asleep. I can't tell you if anyone left the control room.
And neither can I. I was working. Anyone could have left for a minute or two.
Come again? Tracy was standing next to you. That narrows it down.
That door's open. It leads into your cabin.
This is ridiculous.
None of us left the front of the boat after Ava went to her room.
Maybe somebody set something up before she went into her room. This is why it's important to know how she died.
You may have been asleep. And you may have been lost in your work, but I was awake and fully aware of everything that was going on around me. And I tell you, none of us had a chance to kill Ava.
Okay, so maybe she wasn't with Nelson the whole time. Who fell asleep first, Crane or Stoller? If it was Crane, Stoller could have stolen out while Tracy was with Nelson and then come back and pretended to be asleep. Alternately, if Tracy was the only one paying attention, she's the most likely one to be able to slip out and back again. And we know the biggest problem with both of those theories. They're too obvious. Tracy's right. None of them could have done it. So that leaves what?
Couldn't she have killed herself? Chandler did.
Chandler didn't kill himself. He was trying to get away in the mini-sub.
But he knew taking the mini-sub out at this depth was suicide. So yes, he killed himself. His weapon of choice was panic. And all this leaves them no closer to an answer than they were before. At least Admiral Nelson thinks he's found the problem with the subsystems.
Somebody's been tampering with the main power line. See, these wires have been disconnected and
When you're working with high voltage, gloves are your friends, Admiral.
Admiral! Can't you do something?
10,000 volts, there's nothing to do.
10,000, that's all. I've taken hits like that and I'm still here. High voltage is dangerous when it's carrying high current, which is to say amps. Current, also known as amps or amperage, is the actual amount of electrons being moved through the circuit. Voltage is the force that pushes it through the wires. Current is what kills. Voltage can produce enough flutter to stop a person's heart, but with medical treatment, it's not that difficult to get it started again. If enough current hits a person, it does things that I'm not inclined to describe. I used to work on TV sets, and those picture tubes generate anywhere from 12 to 35,000 volts, but with almost no current. That's why I've taken jolts from 5,000 volts and up, and the main evidence is this little scar on my pinky. Disclaimer, even so, it is not fun. It's frankly terrifying, and I don't recommend trying it. And considering he's the star of the show, it's easy for us to realize that Nelson is faking. Crane examines the circuits and realizes someone rigged them to do this. Now the question is, which one, and how does he cover himself against both of them?
What is it?
I just wanted to make sure you were all right.
Where's Stroller?
He was right behind me.
I guess we know who it is now, but I'd like to know how a little bitty thing like Tracy was able to do that to a guy the size of Stoller. Still, Crane is ready to put the cuffs on Tracy.
I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It wasn't me! It wasn't me! It wasn't!
Remember what I said about panic? She's discovering it right now. I don't know where she thinks she's going to go. She's in an enclosed box 5,000 feet underwater. It's not like she can hail a cab and slip away.
Why did you do it?
I swear it.
Now look! Only 2 of us are alive in the ship. I didn't do it. You did!
I swear it wasn't me.
You tell me the truth now! Why did you do it?
I swear it wasn't me. It wasn't. Please believe me.
Guess what? She's telling the truth. There's someone else on the boat. This time they used a screwdriver to jam the door instead of a crowbar, and it doesn't take long to jiggle it loose. But while Crane is doing that, our saboteur has turned everything back on and has a torpedo loaded and ready to sink the peace ship. But how does he plan to fire it? Nelson destroyed the electronic controls. Oh wow, somebody has been setting this up for a long time. I want to know what that's made of that Nelson's bullets didn't go right through it into the real ones. The sub is on the surface and the peace ship is in her sights. Our man has the trigger in his hand. Just a few more seconds. A full Nelson? Really, Captain? I knew a dozen ways to get out of that hold before I was 8 years old. Shoot him! If you don't want to kill him, you're close enough to shoot him in the leg or something. Instead, our leader goes for the most useless wrestling hold ever invented, and Chandler proved how useless it is.
Yes, Captain Crane. Arthur Chandler. You're wondering how I got off the mini-sub. Well, I was never on it.
They have several resuscitation Annies on board. He stuck a mask on one and put it in the mini-sub, then he hid in the air vents while he picked off the rest of the group.
And now I'm gonna destroy the peace ship with Seaview's torpedoes.
I wouldn't bet on that. Among other things, you're talking too much. Captain Crane, do you see what your pal did there? Next time, do that! Full Nelson, I still can't believe it. Shoot him, hit him over the head, knee him in the doohickeys. Think of something useful to do.
Oh, why weren't you killed when you touched the wire?
Oh, that? Well, before I touched it, I switched from a 10,000-volt circuit to one of lesser voltage. Result? Nothing but sparks.
Well, I do wish you two had let me in on it. For a moment there, I thought you were going to kill me.
I almost did.
And by the way, would you like to go out with me next Saturday? I think he's gotten over that. I didn't see this coming, but in retrospect, it's not that hard to suss out. David Shiner is listed as the primary guest star, and he disappeared less than halfway into the episode. That might have told me something, but it's not the sort of thing that registers with the average viewer. We do have a lot of Monster of the Week fare in this show, but there's enough variety such as this episode to keep us tuning in and wondering what will happen next. In the tradition of locked room mysteries, this one kept us guessing right up to the last minute. Agatha Christie would be proud. I'm breathing underwater, I'm weightless through space, I'm soaring like an eagle all over this place. Creatures most will never see are waiting there to look at me, and all I gotta do is breathe underwater. From the piece, screwdriver to Drew Scriver. There's three. Okay, I can make a 3. Good grief.